Daisy Cooper.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm incredibly pleased to be able to speak in this debate. I would like to speak about beer, cider and fortified wine, sometimes known in some parts of Westminster as a work event. The former Chancellor's relief scheme for draft beer and cider excludes far too many small brewers and cider producers who need the most help. The ill-thought-out proposal to impose the 40-litre minimum container size to qualify for help has obviously been dreamt up by someone who really has absolutely no knowledge at all about how pubs up and down our country operate. Almost all craft and small batch beers are kegged into a 30-litre container. That's 6.6 gallons, if anybody is still wanting to introduce imperial measurements. And a small 4.5-gallon cask for real ale, a pin, holds just 20 litres, as do many ciders, which are delivered to pubs to dispense in 20-litre bag-in-a-box containers. 34%, Madam Deputy Speaker, 34% of licensee stock products in containers are smaller than 40 litres to improve beer quality and choice for customers. 46% of venues said that some products are only available to them in containers less than 40 litres, and 1 in 10 venues can only stock containers less than 40 litres, as they don't have the cellar space to sell the larger ones. So I do hope, Madam Deputy Speaker, that the Treasury can finally own up to the fact that they have plucked this figure out of the air and instead give small brewers, cider makers and our struggling hospitality industry the break that they need. I would ask if the Minister could confirm today that the industry is going to get the much-needed assurance that the threshold will be lowered to 20 litres after all. And, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'd also like to talk about fortified wines, because the forthcoming changes to the duty regime will have a significant and arguably disproportionate effect on pork producers in particular. In my constituency, I have one of the UK's leading distributors, Fells. They're a major employer in my constituency and in Hertfordshire more broadly, and they are braced to see a dramatic decline in their sales should this go ahead. Aside from the dramatic price increase that will follow the changes, there are very real and legitimate concerns about the implementation costs and the increased red tape. The system changes, the administrative burden, ongoing compliance with such a system will have further negative effects. The Government's objectives of this alcohol duty reform consultation were welcome. It wanted to simplify the regime and reduce red tape, but the proposals simply do not do that. For wine, the proposed model cannot be described as simpler. Introducing taxation by degree will be complicated, costly and impractical. Unlike other categories of alcoholic drink, there is a far greater permitted tolerance for the alcohol content for wine made from fresh grapes, meaning that without testing every wine at the point excise duty becomes payable, it is not possible to accurately determine alcoholic strength. Introducing such a system will disproportionately hit the wine-dominant or wine-exclusive small and medium enterprises, importers and retailers who are an important element of the customer base for my constituency organisation, my constituency business, Fells. They are requesting that the Government conduct a full and thorough cost-benefit analysis of the impact on the wine sector, and that this cost-benefit analysis should take place as a matter of urgency before any new system is introduced. And I'll be grateful for assurances from the Minister that they would indeed consider running this cost-benefit analysis. Additionally, under the current proposals, the suggested model actually penalises warmer climates as well. There are very limited tools available to vineyard managers to keep ABV down to an acceptable degree, and production rules actually forbid winemakers from removing more than 2% ABV. I understand that the Minister has met with the Wine and Spirits Trade Association. They are also seeking further meetings because they are looking for an assurance that the Government may consider instead a more workable way of taxing wine by applying a flat rate based. They're suggesting a flat rate based on 12% of ABV for all wine and 18% ABV for all fortified wine. Let me just talk as well about port and sherry, because the government's proposals would have a particularly negative impact on the fortified wine business. The total UK market for fortified wine is £311 million. Within this, port represents £82 million, and Fells, in my constituency, is the leading UK importer and distributor. The government proposals would add £1.09 duty to a bottle of port. That is an 11% increase on the average price per bottle. In a highly price-sensitive market, Fells estimates that such an increase could lead to an 11% decline in sales, roughly 1 million bottles per annum. And we know that fortified wines like port and sherry are generally not consumed irresponsibly. They're bought and consumed at festive occasions and celebrations. People buy them to mark exams and graduations and weddings and anniversaries and at Christmas. They're an occasional treat. But with the cost of living emergency, we know that treats are often the first to go. And therefore, this regime could have a huge impact on this market. So I ask the government to think again, to consult more, and not to rush this through, and to do that cost-benefit analysis. Finally, Mr Deputy Speaker, I do believe that overall the alcohol duty reforms that are being proposed by the government are really just tinkering around the edges in dealing with the pressures that are facing hospitality. We have a broken business rate system that penalises pubs, restaurants and high street shops. We have spiralling energy costs which remain uncapped for small businesses. We have food inflation and labour shortages. I would ask the government to seriously consider bringing forward a proper plan to protect British brewers, distillers, winemakers and their distributors. Thank you.
Very much. Philip Drummond.